Hello to everybody who's watching. Welcome. My name is Rishabh Wadhwa, and I am giving a presentation today on a journey of a designer from buildings to content. So, before I tell you about what this presentation is about and what I do, let me first tell you who I am. So, my name is Rishabh Wadhwa. I am a YouTuber and a professional content creator. I graduated from Manipal University, Jaipur back in 2018, and that was after I completed my bachelor's in architecture. So, coming on to what do I do? What I do is I actually am a content creator. So, I create videos around art and architecture for my Instagram and my YouTube channel. And other than that, I also work as a professional content creator making videos for a company called Trip Machine Company. So the two videos that you can see here, The Architect of the Poor, was a video about Laurie Baker, and NASA approved 3D printed houses was about NASA approved 3D printed houses. So let me share with you my journey from designing buildings to designing content. Let me tell you how all of it started. So what you see here is actually a vision board, a huge vision board that I created on two of my cupboards. So these two panels are actually my cupboards. And how it all started was I made a video of making this vision board. And this was on May 25th, 2015. That was my first YouTube video. And that is how it started. From then on, I was actually influenced by a lot of people at that time. Number one being Lily Singh. I used to love watching her content. I used to love um, everything she did, and today obviously she's grown so much more. This was back in 2015-14 when I was watching her, and she's grown so much more since then. But I used to love watching her content. I used to love watching her. I used to love watching Troy Sivan, Corner Franta. So these were all these YouTubers, and I just wanted to do what they did. And so after my first video in my academic year 2015 and 16, I made videos every week. So I literally used to sit down in classes, and we all have those boring classes where they just teach you a lot which you don't need to know. So during those classes, I used to just sit and write scripts, sometimes show it to my friends, like, is this joke funny or something? And for the whole academic year, I made a lot of videos. But what I saw was the videos that got the most traction were all related to architecture. So types of kids in architecture school, how to survive architecture school, life of an architecture students versus concepts. So these were the videos that actually got the most traction. And so I thought maybe I could just drive my content towards art and architecture, because the reason I understood why they were doing well, because there was nobody else doing it. I mean, there are people out there in the world doing it. There was nobody in India doing it at that time. Not that I knew of any. So then I started making more videos towards get towards architecture, and these two videos, the planning of Chandigarh and the planning of Jaipur, were one of my first experiments to. Before this, I was just making skits, funny things. These were the first two serious videos that I made. And I loved a subject called human settlement and planning. So we were taught about Chandigarh, we were taught about Jaipur. I loved their planning. I am from Jaipur, so I knew of the planning beforehand as well. What I did was I took a whiteboard and I drew. It was a whole animation process. I drew the whole story. I drew out the plans, everything. And that is how I made these two videos, the planning of Chandigarh and the planning of Jaipur. And they were very well received. And since then, I started creating more videos related to the field of architecture, about juries, about thesis, whatnot. Now, this was not just my third year, but throughout architecture school. And obviously, you get busy in architecture school as well. It's not easy balancing making videos with all the submissions that you have. So, fast forward to my last semester. So, in my college, for my batch, our internship was in the last semester, the 10th semester. So I did my internship under Badrinath and Prerna Kaleru from Studio Adet. And this line, what you read here, was the last day of me at the firm. And what Prerna ma'am said to me that day was, you have so much energy within you. And they loved having me there. And it was an amazing firm. So they said, you have a lot of energy within you, but that energy is diverted into a lot of things. What you need to do is you need to take all that energy and put it in one direction. She was not necessarily talking about creating content, and she was talking about just architecture, but I think I took it as creating content, and I realized I want to create content, I want to create videos, and that is what I want to do. But so there's a slight problem. There are these two people in my life who've supported me all my life, called parents. And how do I break it to them? How do I tell them, like, I know I've studied this for 5 years, but this is not exactly what I want to do. But then I was also practical about it. I mean, here I am a professionally qualified architect, and I'm choosing a field that we do not know what scope that it has. How do I shift from architecture to content creation? This took me back to Lily Singh. So when Lily wanted to create content, her parents actually told her this, that, you know what, you have a year. You take one whole year, and if everything works out, great. If it doesn't, we'll talk about it again. And so I went to my dad and I said, Dad, let me try this for 1 year. If I can make something from this, then okay. If not, I will go back to practicing architecture. So my dad agreed, and I had a year to prove it. And thankfully, I had a plan. I was going to be the biggest YouTuber within a year. Just a side note, that didn't work out, but let me tell you what happened along the way. So the plan I had was, I always wanted to create a series where I interview architects. And when I was leaving Studio Artet, I actually told Prerna ma'am and Badri sir, they knew about my YouTube channel, they knew I created videos. And I told them I wanted to create this series, and would it be possible that I could take your interview for the very first episode? And they both agreed. I did my first episode of Archiviews, as I called it, with Badri sir. And just for your reference, that was on July 21st, 2018, that I uploaded this episode, and I had 313 days left to be a superstar. So I did my interview with him, got to learn a lot during this interview. And after I did the interview with him, I went on doing interview with more architects, architect Shamini Shankar, architect Satish Vegala, architect Anshuman Sharma. And we talked about different things. We talked about education, we talked about masters, we talked about the field. So it was geared, these interviews were geared towards people who were in architecture college or just fresh graduates. Because to be honest, that is what my perspective was at the time. And so I was going at it from my perspective. So by the time these three videos came out, it was already August 19th, 284 days left. Let me tell you something interesting that happened. When I made my video with Badri sir is an IIT graduate. He sent the video obviously to his friends and everybody, but he also sent it in the IIT groups. One person actually contacted him, and he said that he wanted to contact me to create a video about Charles Correa. So architect Ajay Kumar, who works in Bangalore, he was a student of architect Charles Correa. He had worked under him, learned so much from him, and he wanted to honor uh, Charles Correa on his birthday, which is September 1st. And he wanted to create one episode around him. He loved what I was doing with Archiviews, and he wanted to create an episode around him. So he actually flew me to Bangalore. I was there for a day. I shot the interview. We discussed a lot about Charles Correa. And September 1st, I released that interview, which was Charles Correa and the Village Idiot. We titled it The Village Idiot because that is what Charles Correa used to call him. And it was a very nice episode. It was a nice homage. And by this time, my parents were like, what are you exactly doing? Like, they were surprised that I went to interview architects and they gave me interviews as well. And then somebody just flew me to Bangalore from Jaipur, which is almost across the country, to shoot an interview. So my parents were like, maybe this might just work out. But there were still 271 days left. Now, before I tell you what happened next, we will have to backtrack a little bit. So just as an introduction about what I'm going to talk about next, if you don't know, Venice Architectural Biennale is one of the biggest architectural festivals in the world. Actually, the biggest architectural festival in the world. It happens once every 2 years, and it goes on for 6 months. And the exhibitions in there are just amazing. If you're an architecture student, if you're a design student, you really should go. It blows your mind. So there are these different country pavilions in the Venice Biennale. One of them is the Turkish pavilion. So the Turkish pavilion for that year, 2018, decided that they did not want to make the exhibit themselves, but get students from all over the world to create the exhibit for them. So they had an open call for all architect students across the world, and they gave us 3 topics. We had to make a 30-second video on one of these topics, and one of my friend had actually seen this brief and he forwarded it to me. He's like, you like to create videos, like try this out. So there were 3 topics: what is a biennale, who is a biennale for, what does a biennale do. I made a video on what does a biennale do, and long story short, on September 3rd, 2018, I was in Venice. I got selected. I went there for a week. So it was a week-long workshop. We went there, we created the exhibit for a week. And so September 3rd, I was there, 269 days left. But obviously, I've gone to Italy. It's like, so if I'm already going, I just extended my ticket and stayed there for a while. Before that, this was what the Turkish pavilion looked like. So this is what it was from the inside. And under these tent-like structures that you see is where our exhibits were. So obviously, because I was in Italy, I extended my trip till September 19th. And I just went off visiting Milan, Florence, and Rome. I was to do this with a friend, but his visa could not come out at the last time. So I just solo traveled across Italy. And it was amazing, by the way. I listened to Rick Steves' audiobook. So anybody who's in Italy and I was going to these places to download those audio guides, Rick Steves, they're amazing. So I came back to India on September 19, 2018, 253 days left. It seems like a lot, but to me, it felt urgent. So when I did my interview with Patri sir, they did not only get me to Ajay sir and my 5th episode of Archiviews, they actually loved the way I edited things and edited especially the introduction part. And they offered me a job as a content creator, my first job as a content creator. And I started from October 1st, 2018, I started working. So these were some of the projects of theirs that I covered: Hexalace, Cuboid, Pavilion. And these were incredible projects. And I got to learn a lot. The problem was I was not a skilled content creator or an editor. And they knew that. They were ready to give me time. They were ready to give me, they were very helpful. They said, whatever equipment you require, you tell us, we'll hire it. But to be honest, I did not know what equipment we'll require. I had never done this before. So that was my first job as a content creator. So that thing is taken care of. I mean, I at least have started working, and I created videos for more companies as well. But I wanted to still, that YouTuber dream was still there. I took this year to be a YouTuber. And then Nas Daily happened. Nas Daily, I came across a lot of his videos. I got so inspired. And then I thought, hey, why don't I do something similar, like 1-minute videos, but around art, architecture, and design? And since then, I started what I call Archifacts. So I initially just launched them on Facebook, but then I realized the 1 minute is the perfect frame for Instagram as well. So I started launching them on Instagram as well. So some of them are here. These are actually the first 4 that I launched. Architecture, if you do not know, architecture was once an Olympic sport. There's something called a chairless chair, master architect scandal. This was about Santiago Calatrava. So all these was happening by October 9th, 233 days left. By the way, I did not just, so I was creating content for Studio Ardet. I was now doing this for Instagram and Facebook. My YouTube dream was still alive. I was still making all of these videos for YouTube. But to be honest, it did not get me much. It was doing all of this requires time, requires research, and doing what I was doing, it was already March 10th, 81 days left. Now, even though I loved creating content for Studio Artet, it was not a very well paying job. And the only condition my dad had put is you need to earn well. Whatever you want to do, you need to earn well. And YouTube, the income you get from YouTube is not sustainable enough unless you're a huge YouTuber, which I was not being in the next 81 days. Let's be honest. I think by this time I was honest to myself as well, but I still kept making videos. So my job didn't pay very well. YouTube income was quite low to survive solely on, and my year had almost come to an end. I was desperate. I applied everywhere. And these were only some of the places I applied to. I love all of these places: IDEVA, Scoop, BuzzFeed, Men's XP. And I did get auditions as well to go into these places, but it didn't work out. And by the time all of this was happening, it was already April 10th, 50 days left. I I remember I because my friend was supporting me through all of this. I used to tell him this much time left, this much time left. And then we were discussing maybe I'll just go back to doing architecture. But I was like, no, I'm gonna give it my go till the last day. Until that time, I was also creating my Instagram content. So this that you see are some of the clip arts for my Instagram content. I kept making them. April 30th, 2019, 30 days left. And then something happened out of the blue. So Siddharth Singh, who's now my boss, saw my Instagram videos and he actually offered me a job to create videos for his company. And his company was called Trip Machine Company. And he offered me the job on May 10th, 2019, 20 days before my year was coming to an end. It was a job with a very decent pay. It was a job in Gurgaon. I would have to move from Jaipur, so that was a little low. I discussed it with my parents, with my family. They were happy. And since June 1st, 2019, I work as a content creator for Trip Machine Company while still working and making YouTube and Instagram videos for Blessed Dark. Now, today I have 14K subscribers on YouTube and I have almost 22K followers on Instagram. Now, within all this story, let me just tell you something very, very interesting. Let me take you back to my very first video. So you remember this image, the very first video that I put up, this vision board that I made. So here are a few things that were on my vision board. I wanted to be a YouTuber. I sort of became one. I wanted my weight under 75 kg. At the time I made this vision board, I used to weigh approximately 100 kgs. Today I weigh 72. I wanted to visit Vatican City, Florence Cathedral, Venice, and Milan. I did all of those. Dance and yoga, during this whole process of this 1 year, I actually joined a Zumba and a yoga class, and I had actually become skilled enough to become a junior trainer. And so I used to train people as well. And for some odd reason, I had put motorcycles on my vision board. I don't like motorcycles. I don't like riding motorcycles. I am a bit scared of them. Not anymore, but I was very scared of them at that time. I don't know why I had put it. And funnily enough, Trip Machine Company is actually a company that makes leather accessories for motorcycle goods. It's a company around motorcycles. So it is sort of a full circle of where I started my first video from. And that is sort of what led me to this journey. Today, I make content Every day I make daily facts, and I'm inspired by people such as Trevor Noah, Hassan Minaj. There are these amazing YouTube channels called Walks, 99% Invisible, Crash Course, Curse Kazakh, and I love each and every one of them. And I get inspired each and every day for all of my content. And this is the type of content that I create today. I try and make things aesthetically pleasing. I have a little bit of an OCD for my Instagram profile and its aesthetics. I always try to change things and try and make them look prettier. So some of the videos that I make, pink wasn't a girly color. If you did not know that, it was first used by men, and India's portal to the prehistoric era. So I make videos like these today. And I think one of the last things I wanted to discuss with you was the future of Blessed Art. So this journey had been an incredible journey. That year had been a crazy year and loads of things happened. I've just skimmed over the surface, by the way. But understanding that my desire to do this actually led me to so many opportunities. I dream big for Blessed Dark today. When I think of Blessed Dark in the future, obviously I want to create content around design, architecture, art. I want to go on and interview huge architects, and not just ask them uh, boring intellectual questions. I try to make my content in a very witty way. So try and move towards a little more fun area with the interviews, create amazing content with them. And in the future, I see myself doing all of this with a team. I want to expand Blackstar and get more people in, get their creative visions in, creative ideas in, their support in, and just make this bigger. This was actually my journey of as a designer, of from designing buildings to now designing content. I hope you like that presentation. I hope you got to learn something from it. If nothing else, I think what you can learn from it is to sort of, if nothing else, have an unwavering and undying desire to do something. It might just work out, and give it your best go. If after that year I would have not been able to be a content creator, I would have been at peace because I gave it my best. I gave it everything I had got. I had auditioned for all places, and that would have brought me peace. But it all worked out. I'm so thankful that all of this happened the way it happened, and hopefully you can learn something from it and take away something from it. That is it. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube by the name Blessed, and I will see you guys there. Bye bye.